Yeah, I'm saying take care of it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for coming out today. I love that we have some younger residents here today. So, perfect timing, Trish. So I just want to say thank y'all so much for coming. We love seeing your faces here. Upon entering into regular session from executive session, I'm just gonna take a moment to summarize. And so the two things we talked about is first, we talked about association legal counsel. We are just gonna price out a few different law firms and meet with them, including our current one, and just make sure that, we're getting competitive fees and competitive rates and that we're happy with the service. And then as far as the management agreement goes, we have a new management agreement, or they sent us a new one, and we're just currently in negotiations with them over that. So that is the executive session. May I have a motion to, so this is for the approval of prior meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the board held on November 9th, 2023 as presented? So moved. All right, thank you, Trish. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful. And now I'll turn the time over to Marcia.
Awesome, thank you, Kat. So just kind of a quick highlight. I did send a full management report to the board of directors, but I did write down a few notes that I wanted to highlight, especially for you guys in attendance. The highlights for the period basically include the preparation of numerous RFPs, so wood splash pad resurfacing, painting and wood staining, janitorial services, landscaping services. The board is being to be very busy, as am I. We await clarification though on a couple of items before the landscape services RFP can be finalized. However, the others are ready for board adoption. You can see that they are on the agenda for tonight. The basketball court conversion / installation of the pickleball court. I would be remiss if I did not mention that. I know a lot of people are interested. It is the project, just like homeowners, when you're putting in a pool, not only do you have to submit to the homeowners association, you also have to submit to WCID, whichever WCID you're a member of. We are no different. So we have our plans submitted with WCID 1, and they are reviewing it, and we're supposed to find out more information on their February 8th board meeting, in which I will attend. Any other board members who are available are welcome to as well. I just want to make sure that I field any questions they have so we don't slow up the process there. December was certainly an exciting month for Belterra Lifestyle. Santa and the Grinch faced off in a popularity contest at our holiday extravaganza. Belterra's littlest residents enjoyed gingerbread cookie decorating during a tasty version of our come and go crafting. And the grown-ups tried their luck at wine bingo, yes, wine bingo, during the Wine Down Wednesday, and lots more. Management, we also followed the precautions and preparations outlined in the winterization guidelines to in anticipation of the freezing temperatures early last week. Unfortunately, despite our many efforts, I do know that we do have some damage to the restroom faucets at the pool. So early next week, the handyman is going to come and turn all the water back on, and we're going to do a full assessment and see if we have any additional damage. I have alerted the insurance company that we have known damage, but I don't know if it's going to exceed the deductible of $1,000 just yet. So I'll keep the board informed on that when I know more. Other than that, that's all I was going to highlight today.
Are there any anticipated revisions to the winterization guidelines based on what we learned?
I'm going to need to do some research on if the type of faucets they are, because the faucets we put in after the last freeze are the automatic faucets. If it's something to do with that type of mechanism which caused it, because if you go in there, you see the kind of that screen, that portion right there is just blown out. So we did drain the water out of the system, so I'm not sure if the automatic faucet allowed some sort of backwash or backflush of liquid into the system. So we'll figure that out. I don't know if it's a procedural issue or a mechanism issue. So we'll do some research on that and then consider that for what we replace, obviously, with that. It's a good question, thanks. Any other questions? All right.
Thanks for doing all those RFPs.
And thanks to Diego Suarez, I think he's on the call. Thank you, Diego.
Yes,
He's with the feedback committee. He's been fantastic. He's been my right-hand man. I draft things, he reviews it. He's got a great eye for details. So he did a fantastic job there.
Thank you, Diego. All right, Bob.
All right, excuse me. As of December 31st, 2023, unaudited financial statements of the total assets were for the Belterra Community Association, our operating was at $370,661.86. Our reserve is at $616,399.17. And our capital improvement is at $256,323.93. The code's operating is at $18,374, and the code's reserve is at $148,807.69. When reviewing the BCA income statement for operating, it should be noted that when the bulk transfer from operating to reserves of $406,651 in May 2023 is deducted from the year-end actual net loss of $453,845.28, the adjusted net loss becomes $47,194.28. Compared to the budgeted net loss for 2023 of $57,360.34, BCA ended the year ahead by $10,166.06. At the end of November, BCA held 4 months of operating expenses in cash.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bob.
Is there going to be a test on those numbers? If you want?
Any questions?
We have not cut any checks on the pickleball stuff, so that would come out of this as a combination of reserve and capital.
The deposit for the deposit on the pickleball court project was cut out of capital improvement.
Okay.
But that's a good reminder to everyone that a portion of that whole project is going to be funded by reserves, because the basketball court was already slated to be resurfaced. So we'll take those dollars that are allocated and basically pay them out of reserves, and then the balance of the project will be funded by capital improvement. Make sense?
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions for Bob on financials? Wonderful. Thank you all so much. So we're moving on to old business, and we did not take any action between meetings this go around, so there is nothing there. Yeah. But we will go ahead. You know, do I speak to this part?
You can, yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna invite Jim to speak to the.
All right, so our next part is the code committee requests, and our code committee chair, Jim, is here. Would you like to go ahead and make those requests, or would you like me to?
No, go ahead. I'll comment on any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Thanks for running it. So they have committee member appointments. They have a maximum number of 10 per their charter, and they currently have 8 committee members. And so they would like to request that the board of directors appoint Yvonne Schick and Deborah Mann, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name, to the code committee. Would anybody like to make a motion or discuss that?
I can comment on who we have to do this session.
I'll make a motion, we appoint the aforementioned persons for the code committee.
Right, may I have a second? Second. Thank you, Trish and Bob. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Yes, sorry, discussion.
So I just comment on the 2 members. So Jim Glazer has been a member, but he's had some severe medical issues, so he's resigned.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but he's on a life path or something, so.
Yeah.
So Yvonne has been a really active member of the code with a lot of social events. We host 2 events per year, like strolling dinners, one around Christmas and one around 4th of July. So she's been an active member to volunteer during the committee. And Deborah Mann is retired, and she's an accountant. And although I have a financial background, I'm not an accountant. So I badger Marcia occasionally on financial issues. And so I'll look to her to help explain, Bob's creative accounting that occurs, protocol. And if any residents have any questions, they can, do that. And likewise, Marcia can work with, Deb on that, this resolved. So I highly recommend that both, the applicants be approved.
Wonderful. All right. Any other discussion? Thank you so much for that, by the way, Jim. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful. That motion carries unanimously. Do we need to do anything about the resignation? Do we approve that, or does that just happen on its own?
It just happens on its own. I mean, I'll make a note in the minutes that Jim apprised the board of his resignation.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, and then the code committee requests that the board of directors assign a board member to act as a liaison between the code committee and the board. The committee would like the liaison to attend code committee meetings to aid in disseminating information. So I guess that's up to so they've requested that, and then it's up to the board whether or not to approve that or not. Does anybody like to make a motion? So I'll give my 2 cents on this. We have a lot of committees, and committees were created to essentially aid the board. So we wanted a code committee because we wanted to hear from the code how things were going. We have the AMC to, you know, do architectural modification, the welcome committee to help welcome new residents. And my fear is that if we create this idea that there always has to be a liaison between the board and the committees, that it's gonna create an undue burden on the board, and it may end up becoming prevention to creating committees.
I'll add to that, that one of the issues that the board has is we're supposed to be acting as one unified voice.
Yeah,
And putting one board member in a position where they're interacting directly with the committee, could potentially dilute that, wrong information could get passed. It becomes problematic having one board member acting alone
yeah.
rather than the board acting as a group.
So it sounds like no motion is made on this.
And comment?
I don't know if we have a discussion for this.
There's no discussion.
Yeah, since there was no motion made.
Can't be open for.
Yeah, all right, so then we're off to the strategic planning committee requests. So we have one person who's stepping down as well off the strategic planning committee, and that's Danny Heidke, and we'd like to thank him for his service. And then our committee has a maximum of 11 members for the charter, and we currently have 4, and we would like to appoint Thomas Toms, Stephen Alexander, Rita Salinas, Emily Vandermeer, Natalie Kemp, and Robin Capobianco to the strategic planning committee. Would anybody like to make a motion? So, thank you, Trish. Any second?
Sure.
Thank you, Fred. Discussion?
So how did these folks end up in the pipeline to join the strategic planning committee?
So this one was from the annual survey. We had 16 residents say that they would like to be on the SPC. And so I reached out to management and asked them, you know, can you make sure these are residents who are in good standing? Management got back to me, and then I emailed with the different ones. I obviously wasn't able to select everyone, but this is who it came to.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like the board to see the larger pool of candidates and be a part of the decision who gets appointed, not the committee chairperson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't think that's how it's been done in the past. But
Well, historically, when we've had appointments to the committee, it's been we'll reach out, who's interested, and we got back either the right number of candidates or
Yeah.
less than we were requesting. So having a large pool of people to choose from has not been an issue since I've been.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a motion and a second on the table.
Oh, yeah, sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Right?
All right, so then that motion carries 4-1. And then we're on to the association legal counsel. So this was discussed in executive session, and essentially we decided that we'll meet with 2 or 3 different law firms. And I already covered that, so there's no motion here to make tonight. And then we move on to requests for proposals, or RFPs. We have quite a few reserve projects planned for 2024. Before we can solicit bids, the board should review and approve the formal request for proposals for RFPs drafted by management and reviewed by a designated member of the SPVAC committee. Included in the board's packet are the RFPs for the pool and splash pad resurfacing, the wood staining and painting, and for janitorial services. So, would anybody like to make a motion on these?
Probably move that we proceed with circulating the RFPs and seeking bids on these contracted terms.
All right, may I have a second? Thank you, Fred. Any discussion? I like these. I thought that they looked really good. I'm grateful for Diego and for the SPVAC committee coming in and putting these RFPs together. So we're looking at resurfacing the splash pad and the pool, and then wood staining around here on the building. And then a janitorial service RFPs, so,
So I'll just make sure Marcia and Diego get involved.
yeah.
Diego's really fantastic. I really enjoyed working with him. And just to clarify too, it's, for everybody in the audience, it's, not only the wood staining, but building painting and the fence painting around the pool. So
Yes.
we're gonna really polish the place up. So.
Prior to swim season, so when people come up here, it looks real nice.
Yes.
All right, so, this isn't open for, sorry, but, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Now we are on to the pool standard operating procedures. So essentially we have, the board does monthly walkthroughs of the community. And one thing that we realized in December is that we didn't really create a procedure for winterizing pool equipment, because back in the day, it used to shut down in August. It was about a year before I think I joined the board that they decided to keep it open year round. And so then they started leaving the umbrellas out, the lifeguard stands, because they wanted people to be able to come and utilize those things. And so what we're realizing is we need to create a procedure like, yes, continue to keep the pool open year round, but what does that look like? And so that's what we're here to discuss tonight. So yes. So what is the timeline on that y'all would like to see? Like what's, like you've maybe seen in prior communities, like when should umbrellas come down? Do people still use those in September? Like I think the lifeguard stand should come down the moment the lifeguards are no longer on duty, because kids can jump off of those. But like umbrellas, is that like an October thing to take down?
What they talk.
That's hard because it's Texas.
I know, right?
That's true. In a day.
Maybe we just say once it starts feeling cold.
Yeah.
Latest December. But because the umbrellas, it's just an issue, like they blow around
Right.
from the wind, and so it makes it look messy.
I mean, maybe we could say mid-November.
Okay, so the lifeguard stands are down once the lifeguard company's out. The umbrellas are up in mid-November. Is there any other pool equipment similar to that that would need to be taken and put away? That was the only things I could think of. Okay, wonderful.
Well, so I think more broadly, right, there should be a default state, and if we're going to need the umbrellas great. We should make it clear to residents, the expectation is those umbrellas are closed. We should have the management company walking around, and if they see nobody out there, the umbrellas open, finding time in the day to go close them, sort of what condition do we expect the pool to be in when not in active use for these winter months or fall months?
So I will say that walkthrough was the one Howard did, and I asked him, I was like, were those umbrellas that were knocked over open or closed? And he said they were closed.
They were closed, 'cause
And so that's why I'm like, maybe closing them isn't enough, we maybe like need to physically move them.
Perhaps, maybe we need to make sure the table's on the base, but like, that's the sort of document we need to put together.
Yeah,
Take them down, have a pile, and somebody can go pick it up out of the pile, put it in the stand, and put it up, but we can draft that document,
and so we're discussing it now so that way Marcia can draft that document is the idea. So
so.
are you thinking don't take the umbrellas down, but make sure they're in the right bases or?
My point was more that there's the macro scale items you do at a shift of a season or at this week, but then there's what condition would I expect it to be in when I looked out each day? How do I make sure it stays that way? So if we do leave them, somebody puts it up, somebody feels responsible for putting it down, or we communicate to residents that, hey, this is a privilege to leave this open, so please, if you open it up, put it down, take the umbrella back in the stand and put it back in the pile, just something a little more broad than set my clock back and go move away from things.
So I do like that, because you're right, there are those pieces, like the lifeguard stands do need to be moved at a certain time, but then there also is, what do we expect the pool to look like? And we did create the furniture schematic, and so I think that should be, could we make sure that furniture schematic is included?
Yeah, it should be in
In
there.
the standard operating procedures, and that, what do we expect? Do we want management out there every day at like, before, like essentially before management leaves, they're supposed to walk the pool area and make sure that furniture is where it's supposed to be? Is that kind of, or? Is that,
That's a little bit too curated,
Okay,
something in
too curated.
between, right?
okay,
Of just communicating those broad expectations of what it should look like and what's safe for the equipment. So when we have to bump up assessments next year because we have to re-replace all the things because everybody left the umbrellas up, we've got a story about why we're in this position, and we communicated, but the right action wasn't taken by all involved.
There was also, someone at some point, I can't remember who or when, brought up even though it's open year round, at a certain date or whatnot, maybe it's when we, take the umbrellas down or whatnot, that a portion of the pool furniture is stored, it's put away, because use is a lot less, obviously, to kind of extend the life perhaps, and we're not sitting out there. Storage may be a bit of an issue, but we'll cross that bridge, but if it's possible, maybe 50% of the pool furniture gets stored away.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that would look great in the standard operating procedures. Okay.
Do we have to go see the see if we want to put a shed on? Area?
Chair.
We need a storage shed, is that what you're saying?
If you wanted to have a place to put the umbrellas, so they weren't standing up with the
I think
chairs,
it's great.
but make them accessible, then you put a nice lean-to or pergola type structure onto the side that they could be stored in, but then easily accessed where it will be locked away in the,
storage unit, there's a huge bucket of all this stuff, I don't even, you know what I'm talking about, back there.
I would love some sort of storage,
Yeah,
additional storage.
Okay,
out
so
there.
could we look into that with the
Absolutely.
standard operating procedures? Wonderful. Alrighty, so then the next, is that kind of it for the furniture? So the next part was the pool room, the organization of the pool room. Who is gonna be in charge of organizing it? And who is responsible to make sure it's being organized? And I don't think we have that fully set out. There were a lot of pool chemicals in that storage room, so much so that we couldn't reach the closet this last summer. And so I think we kind of need a little bit of a guideline, like I would like to ask our pool company, how much do you need to store here? Please don't store excess. And then make our closet accessible, don't block the closet.
so
Um,
we, Now, in the past, even the electrical panels can block, and that's a problem. But I guess, do we know how much of that is actually our current pool vendors stuff that they're actively using versus remnants from?
It's not remnants from the old system because that was a liquid system and this is a tab system.
Okay.
So everything that is stored in there is for the existing system. The Progressive Commercial Aquatics, we got basically a new guy and I had a conversation with him and he said, oh yeah, he's like, I like things really organized, so here's what I've done. I've gone in and moved things. You can actually get to the closet now. So I was actually telling Steve the other day that I'm gonna have to replace the door because there's a lot of caustic chemicals in there and it has eroded away the door. You can't really get it closed now. And there's some good shelves in there. So we have an opportunity for some excellent organization in there and I have big plans. I just need to have the temperatures chill out a little bit before we go spend, any significant time. So anybody who'd like to volunteer to help with that project, because I'm not sure that the three of us in the office can get it done by ourselves, so.
And so I think specifically when it comes to the chemicals, Miles and his team need to be on the hook for defining exactly how those are stored and positioned, and making sure that no one is safe. I wouldn't want resident or staff handling those.
I agree with that.
We can tape out or isolate that space, that mile, here's our path and never cross.
I'd also like to get information from them on how much are you storing? How many days, weeks, or months worth of chemicals, and if it's unreasonable to have them scale it down to.
Yeah.
I think we had a lot in there when they first started because I think they were front loading it because they didn't, they were new. They didn't know how fast we were gonna go through the chemical. I think they have a really good idea now. And that's what I was gonna say with Pete said, tape an area off on the floor and say, this is your space. If you're gonna stack it high, that's fine, but don't come out any further. This is it, because there's also a concern of those chemicals. When we have lifeguards, they will sort of quote unquote office out of there. They have a little desk in there, they're supposed to, having them in too close proximity to it. So there's a lot of considerations.
They shouldn't be doing business in a room with chlorine.
Well, they just go in there and like sign papers and fill out reports and stuff. I don't think they actually physically sit in there.
They do. I had residents complain about
Well, they're
not having chairs and they like carried the chairs in. Even when we set a table up outside the room where the lifeguards could just sit, they would just take the chairs and go and sit in the room.
Well, that sounds like a conversation with the lifeguard company about what they need. But they shouldn't be sitting around and just.
Well, no, I think, there is like, you're supposed to get a 15-minute break every hour as a lifeguard. And so it was on their break that they would go. They use it kind of as a break room. And so maybe that could be part of it, figuring out where lifeguards can go on their break and making it clear you can't be in a room with chemicals.
So best practices for storing hazardous materials would be very dedicated storage area. It's not access free. So, which is really what we should be doing with those chemicals.
If we had a closet with a key that locked, that Miles and only Marcia had the key to, would that mean
Right,
that's
we
not?
gotta look at the MSDS.
Yeah, as I said, you were getting into.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Flammable thing,
Yeah,
so.
we could take some guidance from Progressive.
Yeah.
And make a plan for what that looks like and then as far as who's responsible for making sure it stays that way, I think that's us.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones here, so.
Okay, listen, as long as we can, thank y'all. All right, any other comments on the chemical storage and that storage room itself that we would like to see in SOP? No? All right, wonderful. So currently our pool hours are until 9 PM Monday through Saturday and until 8 PM on Sundays. We have lights in and around the pool to allow for night swimming, and other communities in the area are open in the evening. What would y'all think of extending those pool hours maybe to like 11?
I'm in favor of it.
That's a good idea.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
I motion to extend the pool hours 7 days a week until 11 PM. Or actually, let me ask the question real quick. What time does it open? Does it open at 5 AM?
5 AM.
Okay, perfect. then, then I stick with that motion. I motion that the pool hours are 5 AM to 11 PM daily.
So,
May I have a second? Brent? Pete, discussion?
so there's a couple questions from residents in the vicinity, how audible is the pool during non-swim meets? How visible are the lights at that time of night? And then, at least on some of those days, it coincides with when lifeguarding exists, because the lifeguards are expected to shut it down. So now we sort of do a lot of less concerned about 5 AM going in line, he's motivated to do that, so then we tail out at the end of the day. I don't know if the inconvenience is gonna outweigh the benefit to the handful of people who would use it for good reasons, or the perhaps larger quantity of people who use it for less good reasons.
So we already are open at 5 AM, so, and the lifeguards don't come till later, so the furniture kind of is what it is sometimes when people arrive. So the only difference would be is the lifeguard would arrange it before they leave as best they could with the people still there. And then it wouldn't be until the next day that furniture would get rearranged.
Unless the board decides when you have the conversation about lifeguards to extend lifeguards until the closing of the pool. That's TBD at this point there.
But the lights are already on, just to answer that
So we
question.
leave the lights on.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a safety thing, so we have the lights on in the pool all the time, and sometimes I see the lights on at the pavilion, sometimes I don't know, they're on a timer, so I don't know when they turn on and off.
They should be on a photo cell, but I'll confirm.
Or maybe they're on
Yeah, they should be on a photo cell because then you don't have to change the time when someone changes and stuff.
Do we have any sort of data on how many people lifeguards are kicking out, for lack of a better term, at the end of the swim day when they leave, when they're in season?
So, mhm.
And I really like,
Oh, can you repeat the question? How
Do
many?
we have any data on how many people are still in the pool that the lifeguards are having to kick out
Uh,
at the end of the day?
At night.
Which would be a good bit of
Yeah.
information to guide this decision.
Yeah.
I just don't see a ton of downside to this, but that's me personally. I think the upside is residents have more time at the pool if they want it. It doesn't change the chemicals, it doesn't really change the life, it doesn't,
and I'd like
people
to
just get to
see,
go in.
want to email and say, yes, I would actually like to use this, and not their teenage kids, who shouldn't be in there without an adult anyway. So ask the question, let some people say, yes, this would be a benefit to me before we open it up, and the possibility of people wandering in.
We have a town hall coming up in a month.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Maybe this would be good to be tabled until the town hall, and we could add it to the subject to talk community about.
What are you asking for?
From certain time, adult only.
No.
So that is something we discussed, and you can get sued for age discrimination. Cause I actually thought it would be fun to have it be adult only and then have like Thursday night do teen night as an idea for like the teens to get out and mix and mingle, but that could open us up for lawsuits for age discrimination. But okay, so we've had a good discussion. Are there any other discussion points on this? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
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 All right, so that motion fails 3-2.
I'd like to make a motion.
Hold on, didn't 3 of you say yay?
Yes, it fails. Oh, sorry.
It got passed, but then,
No, don't we have all 4 out of 7 pass?
No.
no, you have the quorum of the board, it's the majority of the quorum.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
Education there. So that motion carries 3-2. I would like to hear what you were gonna say though.
It doesn't matter now because the motion's passed, but I was gonna offer an amendment to the motion that we table this until the town hall and get a better poll of the community to see how many people would actually be interested in later hours.
Yes.
But we've already passed it.
That's, I don't know, we did the same thing with the workout room though. We changed the hours really without polling the community, extended them.
But the workout room Pete's point, has less impact on the neighbors. The lights are gonna be on until 11 o'clock at night, actually, probably 11:15 to get people time to get off their premises. It would be a good idea to get information from the residents that are closest to the pool, if they come to town hall.
Do you know the schedule right now?
The lights,
Yeah, because most of the time I come, they're on.
I think the lights are on all night.
I kind of think they have to be on reliability, because if somebody snuck into that pool and they fall in, you would want somebody to be able to see. So I don't think the lights would be an
I
impact.
think that the bigger complaint I receive in my experience with pools being open later is noise. And I will say, in all the communities I've managed with pools, Belterra has the largest buffer zone between homes and the pool, that if you are going to extend the hours, if anybody was to extend hours on the pool, I think this would be an ideal situation. I mean, because I've had communities where it's like pool, fence, and then somebody's backyard within 10, 15 feet.
Yeah.
So I think you stand to have less pushback from somebody who might be upset by it. But if there is a concern of some people, a majority of the community not being in favor, it doesn't hurt to hold the community.
Well, and if maybe we start getting those complaints, then we can also roll it back. It's not a decision made forever.
See, the issue with that is we're gonna be paying money to change signs, and if we roll it back, we're gonna have to buy new signs. Because we already, that's part of the conversation too, we need to update pool signage, gym signage, we need to update a bunch of signage around here, so this is an opportunity to look at the hours, do we wanna continue with these hours?
Point of order, can I make a motion to cancel the last vote?
So what I will do,
Curiosity.
this is unusual, but I will look at what the official, so somebody else, if you wanna make a motion, I will make sure that it's properly noted in the minutes, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to explore that too.
Cause I will say, I live right here. The only noise that I ever hear is from the Marlins with the bullhorn.
Yeah.
And then I can feel the vibration of their music, but I never hear the music here. I never hear anything from the pool other than the Marlins. And the Marlins don't bother me. They can continue. I'm happy to wake up to that bullhorn 4 Saturdays a year. But, okay, so, let's see.
So there's really, so let me put in here, somebody if you wanna make a motion to
Should
rescind,
we rescind or delay action until looking at it?
I like that better, delay action, so Pete, you wanna make a motion to
I
delay?
move to delay action on the prior vote and discussion we had in the community of the upcoming town hall. We can then re-vote on how they proceed.
I will second that. To be clear, I'm in favor of extending the hours, I just think we need to.
Due diligence.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. The pool nets. Let's see, this is a question I had, because I was at a friend's pool, community pool. We have our pool nets up on the side over here. Are those for resident use?
No,
Because she would just go pick them up and like fish stuff out and then hop in. And I noticed our nets are on the side of the fence. Is that more?
you can, we don't expect residents to clean the pool, you know, it's helpful if somebody drops something like kids, you don't want to put them in and they've got a floating toy that went out into the middle or something, you can utilize it, but it's not there with the expectation that residents are gonna clean the pool.
Okay, but even, so with that, we're good with leaving it there because it is nice for the
Yes.
residents to have. Okay, cool. Oh, so we've had some issues with keeping up with cloudy water in the pool. So we've talked about replacing the filters, but that's gonna be pretty pricey from what we can tell. It's more than the money that we have. And so I think we need to discuss a solution while we're saving up money to replace the filters on what we can do to combat that. I've noticed some public pools have 1 day a week that they're shut down, usually on like a Monday. And that just allows the water to catch up. So I thought maybe we could, I don't know if we need to come up with the solution tonight, but would y'all be interested in talking to Miles with Progressive Aquatics and seeing if he has a good solution? So that way going into this swim season, we can keep up with that water.
I think we should also get a firm quote from him. The very first time we talked about this, he said 100K. when he gave you a quote, or verbally, what he, some other communities say it was 400,
Yeah,
but that was larger, ours is in the middle, so we should actually lock that in for people.
so, and that's the plan, is like, plan A is hopefully we can replace it, but if not, what would our plan B be? And so is that kind of like maybe something you can figure out, Miles, come up with an operating procedure if we're not able to?
Yes, and he's aware that we want a firm quote for that, so
Okay.
he's working on that. For clarification, last year we replaced the media in the filters, but the actual size of the filters are insufficient for the turnover rate to turn over the water to filter it. So like Kat said, we close the pool for one day, that allows all of the water to get through the filter and completely be filtered out. And with the baler load that we have, that is a viable alternative to dropping however 100K, 400K, whatever that ends up being, a temporary solution. So yes, I'll get those numbers for you guys and figure out what he would recommend.
And I would love a lower number, if we could say it could turn over in 12 hours, then we only have to shut it down, you know. So,
I've had luck with, like, on Mondays, opening the pool at noon at smaller pool, I will say,
Yeah.
but, you know, so there may be
yeah,
some common ground there.
So when we say that this is an aesthetic concern.
Yeah, it is.
Air, maybe floating in the water. It's not chemical. Do I feel like I'm walking into a crystal thing, or is it?
Now, the only time I will be honest and transparent, the only time cloudy water does become a real issue other than an aesthetic issue is if it is so cloudy you cannot see a human body at the bottom. And so last summer, that was very vigilantly by staff, we went out there every hour when we did get reports of it being cloudy to make sure, can I still see the drains at the bottom? And if I could, I knew it was still okay. So it's not a chemical safety issue, more of a
visual.
visual safety issue.
Or if it's yellow.
Thankfully, we've never had that issue, Trish.
Details on the days of the week when the reports were made over the past year.
I do not.
I feel like it was all toward the end of June, beginning of July. Like, I feel like beginning of the summer was really good, and then like somehow towards, I don't know if more people start using it then, but it felt like more of a weekend.
Well, so right, clearly the highest pool load is probably after Marlin swim meet.
Mhm.
You've got people, sunscreen churn,
Yes.
very rapid. So that's gonna make it its worst day through much of the weekend, so shutting down on Monday doesn't really help that problem as it would have already had most of Sunday and into Monday. So that's why I'm asking, right, we need to, if you just wanna search your emails or whatever, we can search our emails for any message, but sort of knowing those moments in time can help us from putting something in place that won't actually change the.
I can pretty confidently say that it's earlier in the week after the heavy day they're loading the weekend, specifically
I feel
Monday,
like it's a new day
Tuesday.
too. That's, yeah.
Mhm. That's when it's usually, you know, because you think Saturday's a high day, you'd be surprised by how many people are on a Sunday too. And it's not getting that turnover, filtering all the water out.
And what I noticed when I looked up other pools, because I was curious, their closed day is Monday. And I think that is because the weekend is so much more used.
Yeah, if the data shows it's all Monday and Tuesday, that's great. If it's happening Sunday afternoon, then
We need to look at
I guess
something
something
else.
else, yeah.
I like it, that's a very good point. Are there any other things, so that's kind of my list that I had that I wanted to talk about in SOP for the pool. Do y'all have anything else that you would like to discuss for that?
On this filtration, possibly closing it a day during the week, we will likely know something for that town hall meeting, and I think this lumps nicely into the lifeguard discussion in the hours. So it's kind of a cool conversation to get, because if you close the pool one day a week, there is pushback typically from the community. But I think an ounce of education ahead of time will help curtail some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marcia, what is the date of the town hall?
February 29th.
Leap day,
Mark your calendars.
it won't happen for another 4 years.
Yeah.
All right, is there any other conversation around the pool that we need to have? All right, wonderful. Thank you all so much for a great discussion and a great board meeting at this time. We will go ahead and open the floor to any residents for comments. You come on up, yeah. Jim? Well, come on up here, please, so that way
Is there a
the,
microphone too, so that you can be heard?
and
Well, I actually could only hear half of the conversation, and I probably didn't understand more than a quarter of the conversation. You talked a lot about the pool. Is the pool currently open?
yes, ma'am.
Is anybody using the pool? I never see anybody.
Yes,
there.
ma'am. So I was actually here in December. Oh, sorry, I thought you actually, was that rhetorical?
No, so you actually have a counter or some kind of.
I mean, I don't have a count, but I was here playing kickball with my family and there was a group of teenage girls swimming in the pool one afternoon over the December Christmas break.
Typically, there's labs that are responsible as well.
We have had
Okay,
people in
so I'm
wetsuits
not out of the
training.
No, I haven't seen, but people are using the pool. But when you say teenagers, do we have a certain liability with these
I think
people
what
out
is
The
there?
minimum age is 13 to be unattended at the pool, so.
And they were more like 16, they were older.
Okay, because I know sometimes in the exercise room, children are in there much younger than they're supposed to be. So I'm wondering about the pool. So I would think have liability, so somebody is aware of who's out there. And you're saying people are actually using the pool.
I used to work out right here and there was a group of ladies who came with water weights and they would come and like do their own little water aerobics. I thought that was really cool.
No, I'm glad to hear that people are using it because I've never seen anybody in a pool. Maybe it's just the time of day that I'm there. I would like to thank Fred. He had ping pong going at one time. A lot of the activities that are going on here are not necessarily ones that, are things that I'm interested in. I was very sad when the ping pong went away because there was not that much participation. I think there was some mention at some time of, for adults, game nights. I don't know how much you have participation for wine and things like that. That's not so much of interest to me. But I wish we did have more things that are, that I would be interested in doing.
What are the
There's
times?
been an effort to do that. But I wish you could get back with,
I was gonna say,
maybe
they do
there's
still
a
play ping pong.
it's not publicized, but I did appreciate that you did that. And I wish we had more activities like that.
They still do play ping pong.
I did play ping pong.
No, I mean, right now, there's still a group that comes in a couple nights a week, at least.
The ladies that they were coming, the weather changed and got dark so fast, so,
Okay.
and got cold, they didn't want to come in anymore. So,
Okay.
back to, Monday and Friday late, but she's right,
Yeah.
we have
but
like
it can't-
3 or 4 people, and my problem is that when it's here, it's hot, they all put the heating right now because of the weather. And the guys can't change it to air conditioning, they're really gonna damage the machine. So I really want to stop it until weather gets better, until we get light days again, the ladies can come back.
Yeah, and he's
You're
doing
really-
all the work, sorry, so.
Well, we can definitely talk about, and any other ideas that you
I
have.
would like it to be listed if it's an
I
activity.
mean, it's one night, right?
Never
One
was.
overnight, right?
Well, you definitely, that's what I was gonna say, is that let us know, talk to Byron what you would be interested in, because, and to, mention earlier, we have to be careful what we say is, adults only, and because we can, believe it or not, I know it sounds silly, we can, get in trouble for that. But sometimes there are events that just naturally, when you read the description, you know that it's, okay, this is more of an adults, type of event. But if you have ideas or things you're interested in, let us know, we do lifestyle for you guys as residents. So if there's a, club or a group or, you're interested in a particular event, let us know. I mean, Byron's always looking for different ideas to change things up, and I challenge him to do that too. We don't want to do the same things all over and over.
Well, I filled in that long survey,
Mhm.
all those pages.
Yes.
And so I suggested, that they would have some things like game night for adults. And I heard you saying, adults versus, the age groups or whatever.
And would they-
So, ping pong was-
Would daytime things be better for you? You mentioned like not coming at night, so like a game night probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, so maybe an afternoon.
Maybe like afternoon, morning kind of stuff would be more
I'm flexible.
desired with the way the lights.
I'm flexible. There were people for example, older, people that didn't want to drive at night.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing within this small area to drive, so night doesn't bother me, but, yeah, you know, I'm just interested in activities and I don't want to be taking too much time. You know, I'm sure these other people have questions, but I am glad to know that there are people using the pool because I never see anybody. And, I am interested in activities like the things on that Fred did, but it was, you know, not, I don't know, the publicized enough for people just aren't interested. But, anything that, you know, is reasonable for adults to do, I'm interested in activities.
Well, thank you so much for the feedback and thanks for being here today.
And thank you.
So just one comment on what you shared. A lot of these activities have what I'll refer to as a first follower problem. Meaning people want to do things that other people are doing and join in, but they don't want to be the first person there, the second person there. And so, you know, as Byron comes up with ideas or activities, getting that one, 2, or 3 people to participate, but then make it a crowd so others want to join in is sometimes challenging. So if you had an idea for anything, a game night, and you had a couple friends that wanted to come with you, then tell Byron and he'll put it on the calendar and say it's a game night. Worst case, you get used to the rec center to come hang out and another space to play in. Best case, people see that, see an activity, they show up, there's something happening, they come in, they join, and you start to expand on that group. But I think it's just really hard for that initial launch of an event. And then who shows up, and do people show up, but somebody's 5 minutes late, so they miss the person who's there on time, and so.
And it's a matter of interest.
100%, yeah.
And what I might be interested in, other people might not, and one kind of, hopefully the pickleball or, there is a book club here. And it's pretty good participation. So.
Yeah, if anything you have an idea about, and if you know 1 or 2 people that want to do it with you, we can turn that into an event, and if it gets traction, they can run with that, they can provide use of the space, all those things. So just sharing that as another way to help build traction. If you had something you really wanted to do, you just need a buyer to get it out there. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Come on up, we have. I think all the rest of it.
Okay, first, Peter was right, as a regular pool user, the highest turbidity is always after swimming. So that would be Saturday. And then it continues through the weekend because heavy use till Monday. Damage is already done. Closing the pool on Monday is an option. I know you were discussing filters also. Options in that area, you said you changed the medium. I don't know if it went from sand to anything else, but there's several levels of different medium for filters like mica, and then the top end garnet type things can filter a lot better than sand.
The problem, it's a sand filter, the problem is when the developers build
They're
a
too
pool, they quite frankly cheaped out and put a residential sand filter on.
But they put stuff, yeah, so that was supposed to make up for it.
Yeah,
Well, another solution might be just to upsize 1, 2, or 3 of them rather than trying to change out the system, which would be a lot more expensive. So there's ideas to kick around in that area too. And then one last thing, FYI, I checked with WCID 1, and they said, yes, they do want to drain the duck pond, but they are delayed because of their new supplier vendor. And they're not sure they're gonna get it done this year. But I asked them to please let us know as soon as they schedule it, if they're gonna do it this summer so that we can react accordingly. That's it. Unless anybody has any questions.
Are they getting rid of the duck pond completely?
No.
Draining it right
They're
away?
worried about it's leaking. Losing water. Yes, I'm assuming after they build it, they line it with that night clay or something, so it would leak. And currently it's doing that now in order to mitigate that, so that we kind of drain it and possibly mucking it out. There's been a lot of silt coming in. So that's what the intention is for them. Next.
Thank you so much, Steve. Come on, Jim.
So good evening. My name is Jim Mazie. I'm chair of the full committee, one of your standing committees. First, I'd like to thank the board for all of their work, and Marcia, Byron, and Darrell for all of their support for the code that they give us. So, Samantha is not here from WCID too, but they just completed extensive mowing of the Greenbelt area and cutting along the fences and trimming, and that was really great. So I intend to send her a thank you email. And Landcare, I think, did a great job on the trimming the high mowing areas around the retreat as well. So I think that that's really great. Relative to RFQs, maybe Marcia could comment on the Groundhog Day is approaching, so if she could comment on the gates, which still aren't working.
Yeah.
And we asked for some additional, I think, RFQs on land care or somebody else doing some additional options for mulching and small mower cutting of residents. So Marcia, maybe you can comment on that. And then welcome to the health committee requesting the board for a liaison. So I guess in lieu of the board acting, that's what I'd like to request. Marcia sends out a kind of a format for a report that you see in your committee reports. So maybe that could be increased. I think the concern was that what's presented to the board might be not very extensive. So I offer I could make that a larger report, a little more detail. I mean, I take notes during the meetings, and Marcia, helps run that meeting. So I can certainly do that to communicate more to the board the detail. I think that was the concern is, if you're not there, you don't hear all the board discussion. I think, Tricia, you're on the, you run the resident advisory committee, so you hear all that detail. And Kat, you hear that on the strategic planning committee. So I think.
We don't have a committee member, or we don't have a board member on the welcome committee.
Oh, I
So it's
appreciate
like
that.
we don't want to create like every committee has to have a board member,
Gotcha.
because that would just.
Yeah, I hear you. I think guys are really busy, and I appreciate that. So, but in lieu of that, I'll just try to make my report a little more extensive.
I
to
think
capture
even
more
when you
information.
email, because you copy me on what you send to everybody in the community as a general update, some of that detail you provide in there might be good to include on the report to the board.
Yeah.
So you can provide them more detail and they can choose to.
Yeah, I think, I sent out a kind of an end of the year, what happened in 2023 and what was gonna happen in 2024. So that was more of an email, and I sent in a copy to both Marcia and Kat and that, but I couldn't, copy and paste that and stick that in the format. So, but a lot has gone on, and we really appreciate all the issues that have been resolved. There are a couple, I don't think they're ever going to get resolved with WCID, but in the meantime, so I think I can expand that report. So Marcia, if you could comment on the status of engagement and any land care or other requests on more mulching or some other things. So
Sure.
great, thank you.
So as far as the gate goes, the last committee meeting, the code committee meeting, make this long short, I keep saying it's like we get a bunch of estimates, you fix, kind of patch one thing and then they find another issue. Well, now this is broken. Well, and so rather than constantly going, one more estimate, I sent an email to gate doctors to say, okay, guys, we don't want to get $1,500, each time to death, because ultimately what would happen is we end up spending the amount of money that we would replace the kind of the brain, if you will, the computer, the system that communicates between the gate clickers and the actual physical operator. So we've got a computer and then we've got the physical mechanisms. And the computer portion has been the issue, and it's one thing after another. You replace one thing and realize, no, this is broken too. So ask gate doctors to, hey, take another look at it. We want you to give us the all-in, what are we looking at? Stop giving us a bunch of estimates. I did receive an email back from them yesterday to say, we are confident that this last one, this is going to do it. We've gone and taken another look. We are very confident that this last estimate will take care of it. It's just over $1,700. It's within my approval authority per management agreement. So I'm going to authorize them to proceed, and then I'll get a scheduled date and inform the community of when that will be. So that's the issue is the lower entrance gate. You can get in the upper gate, which is where the key box actually is, or the key box, the keypad, thank you. Where the keypad is, but residents who have a clicker who live closer on the lower gate side, you know, would like to be able to go in and out that way, and right now it's just propped open because it's not. So that is where we're at with that. So I'll keep you guys posted on the scheduled date.
So one of my questions with the gates, and this would be something for the code committee and residents to discuss. I've noticed a lot of communities that have gates, the gates are open during daylight hours. And because I've noticed that, and that would and it's up to y'all, like, I'm not gonna make that change, but it's just like, it's one of those things that would decrease usage, which means that it would be less likely to break down.
We had 2 years of that with a builder. And we don't want it, because people that don't live there go and use it all the time. That's more usage on our road than a private road.
Okay.
We're already paying like $250 a month. And for 3 months now, our gate's been open. So,
Yeah, the problem is that, as you guys talked about the lousy sand filters at the pool, when Cimerly built that, installed that, the brains, the communication part of the system was every bit as bad as the operators. Well, we replaced the operators, but the major communication system is still lousy. So that's the issue, is that we chose at the time, as we didn't know, not to replace everything, 40-some thousand. So the thinking was, well, what can we do to replace what really doesn't work? And so Marcia, I think, is, you know, we're hearing now, this one last thing should do it. But I mean, if this doesn't work, then it's like, well, then we need to replace what's left, you know, and again, you know, we're dealing with bad decisions, privacy, so that's, about the land, other mowing.
Yes. So that's what I spoke about earlier, was the landscaping RFPs. So there are 2 different landscaping RFPs, one for the rec center and the retreat. And then the second RFP is for the more residential service that the Cove and Wellington receives. The hang up there is through, I like to be very detailed, exactly showing maps where, what's part of maintenance and the frequency. And when going through that, there are several like little slivers of property within Wellington that are actually owned by WCID. And it could be literally a Wellington house, a WCID parcel, and then a Wellington house. And it's just a little, you know, sliver in between the homes, and a couple of those. So doing research found out the WCID is maintaining those areas, but they mow them just a couple times a year. They don't really, it is not the level of service that those residents have come to expect. So the question then became, well, it's not technically land owned by the association. Should we be maintaining it? So the board asked me to give the direction that if they choose to continue maintaining it at that same level, is WCID one okay with that? Are they all right? We need some sort of disclosure, some sort of acknowledgement that we're going to continue maintaining it. And hot off the press information for the board, because the question was also asked, if we back that off, if we say, okay, no, we're just gonna let WCID maintain those little sections of land, and not include it in our landscaping contract for Wellington/Cove, then what is the cost savings? And he got that number back to me, and Trish and I were talking about this. It's about $4,700 for the whole year.
but the code also has a area in which WCID2 takes care of. So what's the?
Well, I checked with Land Care and they indicated to me that they don't touch that.
No, they do not.
They do not, but Land Care's been mowing those sections in Wellington though.
Okay.
That's been the issue. So if you lived in Wellington and then all of a sudden, why is this not being mowed? I mean, you might be a little upset. So, those are the numbers, not necessarily for discussion tonight for you guys as a board, but I'll circle back with you. I just got that email from him 2 hours before I came into this meeting, to circle back and let you guys know. We got the answers. So once we get that ironed out, then we can get the approval from the board to release that landscaping RFP and then get it out to the contractors. But spring is an ideal time for, if they choose to make a change, for a landscaper to take over. So that one's still still a little bit urgent. Some of these others are we need to get moving.
I have one other thing about the gates, that you said to open them. Most of the residents on that street bought their homes because of the gates.
Sure.
Because of the fact that it's a safety issue, and we're all old, or the vast majority of us are.
You have one resident that's my age, I know that.
She's married to an older person.
That is true.
But, they also, there's a lot of single people that live there, that it's a security thing. You know, they do not want the gates to go out there.
Well, no, that's why I'm not saying it has to, I was just saying, because my parents live in a gated community and they have issues with their gate a lot. And so I was like, is this general? Until then I've started noticing gates are just open during the day a lot and they close at night. But if that's not something you're interested in,
No.
we're not gonna change that.
Yeah, I've been through both Lakely and Barton Creek gated subs, and they're always closed. I mean,
Yeah.
all kinds of big stuff. So, yeah, I think we wanna fix,
Yeah.
Helen and Jane's point. So I think, that's our intent and, but yeah, so I'm sure this will be resolved. It's just.
They want them,
And that's why we're grateful for the community.
Exactly.
So just question for the liquor replacement that you're discussing is it currently serialized? Is there like logging and every resident has a unique equipment?
Well, yeah, no, I thought you were asking if each resident had their own login to access the system.
Not necessarily access the system, but just like each pool fob has an ID and when
Correct.
that scan is traced, logos, logs. Exists, every is unique access.
Yes, yeah.
And that's been part of the issue is that we go to program new clickers and you cannot, it's a push-pull kind of with the data, because it literally we're dialing to the gates. It's an old system and it will not connect. You keep getting a message saying, sorry, we can't reach it. And we can't leave a message.
I would be upset too.
Yeah.
If I paid extra to live in a gated area and her gate's not.
Yes.
Sure.
It's not one thing for a day or two, it's another thing when it's.
It's been trained.
Yeah. No, I get it.
We will get there.
I have a quick question.
Just like,
When we all did a survey months ago and, the board said that the results were going to be released, they never were. I was just wondering if they were ever going to be released.
They were, there was
infographic. There was an infographic that was sent out. It was sent out at
November. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I just hit resend,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the survey.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? No? Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate y'all being here, giving feedback and just getting to interact with y'all. So with no further business to consider, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:13 p.m.? All right, thank you, Fred. A second? Second. Thank you, Trish. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Got it.
Thank you, God.
You're welcome.
Tonight.